Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the late one, a special one tonight, which is created definitely for the day, the big day, the big day, which is the election of possible Mr. Joe Biden and Vice President elect Kamala Harris. That is what they say. That is what the sound is saying, and this is the day. Some people are actually saying this is the day that the Lord has made, and it's interesting, and it's an interesting day, and it's an interesting time, and yeah. I suppose I have a packed evening. My topic tonight is about election watch, but the election watch is not just about the USA. There are two elections, right? Two elections. One, the United States of America. That election was from Tuesday, and people have been waiting. 253, 40, 253, 240, 253, 240. Every day they wake up 253, 240, 253, 240. And then also there's election of the president of the People's National Party between Lisa Anna and or Mr. Mark Golin. I was privileged to have Mark Golin recently. Wasn't very lucky to have Lisa Anna, but she expressed her apologies. And well, tonight we're going to have that. So my plan tonight is to have an array of guests, all being well, touch wood. And if I don't have the array of guests, you'll be my guest. I'm starting with, of course, Michelle Clark. Peace and blessing from Florida. Okay, so if anything, I'll have to ask you to come on the show. And if you want to, I'll send you the link. And then, so you're my first guest. And then, of course, Dean Murray will say hello from the UK. You'll be my second guest. And I'm going to try to somehow tap into Brownstown. Getting a guest from Brownstown to talk about the community of Brownstown where Kamala Harris' family hails from. So watch your space later. I'm supposed to get someone from the Virginia in the USA to come on. All being well, touch wood. He's got a challenge, which is a beautiful challenge. He's got to take his daughter somewhere, so that is understandable. That's the best challenge I can say, and that's the best excuse, if anything. Justification, and as well, I'm hoping to get a couple persons. I'm hoping to get possible Dr. Burton as well, my regular guest, and I'm hoping to get even Sherika Miller. Sherika Miller should be coming on because she says she wants to hang on with it. Because what is happening? What is happening is this. This is what is happening. The election of America, where we'll talk about where America is going, what Trump did wrong, what Trump did. Everybody know what he did wrong, and what Joe Biden will bring to the table. But also in 53 minutes or so, which is 5 o'clock Jamaica time, 10 o'clock UK time, we will have the results of the People's National Party new president, whether it is Lisa Anna or Mr. Mark Golin. And then we're going to flip over there. Many people have been talking about flipping. There have been flipping cases, flipping from blue, flipping from blue, some flip from red. I mean, today, as you can see, if you can look right here, you can see that my color, which you can see here now, is even blue. I even put on blue colors that I have today, blue colors, but I still have on a bit of red there as well. N9, way too shy. You're too shy. So therefore, without further ado, I'm going to just get the ball rolling and bring on my first two guests who get the ball rolling tonight. And that is, let me start with who is going to be coming on first. Let me see who's going to come on first. Yes.
Hi, guys. Hello, everyone.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is Sherika Miller. She's a good friend to the show. She's a lady that I brought on those two young ladies that I interviewed first, and I started the youth connections. So she wants to be here because she said she's enthused. Tell us why you're enthused about this, Sherika.
I'm really excited. I've just finished a 12-hour intensive care unit shift and I'm running. So if I look crazy, guys, I'm a registered nurse and I've been called in to help with the COVID. So bear with me, don't judge me. on on my views. I'm coming in from a 12-hour shift. So how is everybody? How are you, Silburn? You look wow.
I'm good. Let me just bring in someone else to get the ball rolling. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. David.
David.
Good evening. How are you
Good,
guys?
good evening. Good
Good.
evening.
You're all
David
good.
is
You're all
here for
good.
one reason, because he wants to get his coffee. But David. That's not the coffee. That's not the coffee, David.
It's
We
the
made
Blue
a
Mountain I'm
wager.
after.
We made a wager that if Biden wins, we're all going to buy him coffee. So I said we all agreed, but we have one slight hiccup here. It's got to be virtual coffee.
Oh dear. Tell him
Listen,
to pay.
I'll take gift cards.
Tell him
I'll
to
Oh
take,
shoot!
PayPal you. Send them your PayPal link.
that's it. All you have to do, just give me the gift card for any of those establishments. I'm not going to name names because I don't want the video to get banned. So yeah, any of them, even in independent stores, you just
Yeah,
find one in my local area, Silborne,
yeah,
and I will drink a coffee to you, and also do that over the video. So that's virtual coffee.
virtual coffee. Okay, that is fantastic. Well, listen, guys.
Hi,
It's
David.
an interesting
How you doing?
it's an interesting day, and it's an interesting day for because here we go.
Yes.
Should we? Is that does a picture need to be changed now?
You need to put a big red X through one of them.
Uh,
You need to
Wow.
put a big red X
a,
through
a,
one of them. Just
a
the
red
X.
X. A red X
Just
need
the
to
X.
be
Yeah.
a red X need to be one of them. Okay, okay. Let me see if I can make you guys feel better then. After three, uh, one, two, three. Is that better?
That's a good one. That's like unity. I like that. Unity. UNITY.
Okay, all right. So listen, guys. As we all know by now, based on the exit polls, not exit polls. We're far from that, isn't it, David? I mean, the exit polls should have come out from the day.
You could be forgiven though, Silbon. Every day has been an election day. You know,
Every
um,
day has been election. I mean, from Tuesday, isn't it?
exactly. It's been like watching test cricket, just waiting for the result. Four
Yes,
days in.
yes. So today, ladies and gentlemen, the results have come in now, whereby uh, Mr. Joe Biden, I will say Vice President elect. I'm not going to say Sleepy Joe. Oh, did I say that? I didn't say that. No, I didn't say Sleepy Joe. President elect Mr. Joe Biden and Vice President elect Kamala Harris. It has now been named. The press has called it. Many people are saying why the press has called it. Of course, that is Mr. Trump's side. The press should not call it. They should wait for everything to come out. But that is what is going to happen. It's whether the votes are challenged or not. It is more than likely that that is going to be the case with Vice President elect and President elect Joe Biden will take us into the next period of 4 years as President and Vice President of the United States of America. Sherika, what's your thoughts on this?
I am in shock at the mockery that is being made of the president that was before now. So when I first, as you guys know, I told you I was in full PPE. I should bring up my PPE for you guys to see it. But I was like, oh my God, they're making a complete mockery of Donald Trump. Before, they were seeing him as a threat. They were looking at him as the prime minister. Now they're making jokes. There's memes coming out. It's insulting almost to watch how they're almost knocking him down as they kick him out. When you beat somebody up and then kick them out, that's basically what they're doing to him. So I'm in shock at the results. I'm very pleased with it. I mean, how do you
Mm.
guys feel?
Well, David.
Yeah, I'm not particularly in shock with the result. I think looking at the lay of the land, the way that things were panning out, the cards were stacked against Donald Trump. This last year has been a roller coaster of emotions for him, I think. He started the year with his attack on, I don't know if you remember, the attack on Soleimani, so the Iran national there. And then COVID just really took fire, took
Mm-hmm.
hold of the world over. But I think for him, it really was the death knell because a lot of things happened. The fallout effect from COVID was that we had a lot more time at home. Black Lives Matter movement obviously was in effect way before Donald Trump ever existed, but I think we had more time to concentrate on the ills that have befallen America. And I do think that the George Floyd, I'm going to call it murder, but they're still out for the jury, that occurred on America's watch. I think that COVID shone a further light on that, and there was a greater unity amongst people in regards to a movement. Never before have I seen a movement like that in America, and I think it hit home for a lot of Americans. So the time afforded to them to sort of have that as a rite of passage all culminated in him not being able to take an effective lead on COVID. I don't know that any leader in the world has really got hold of it completely. Everybody suffered. We could talk about different countries being better than others, but every country's been hit with this particular thing. But I think the Americas have definitely been hit. And then, that disharmony really reigned true with regards to the emotions that have taken place over the past few days.
Yes.
In the elections. So for me, it's not a shock. I think it's easy for me to say, yes, I saw it coming, but you had your bets either way. But I've gone on record saying that, at least for the past few weeks now, that the trajectory was that sure that Biden and the Harris ticket was going to take this one. It's closer than I thought it would have been, but that's just because of the way that the Electoral College works. But you'll probably find that the number of votes cast in Biden's favor are going to far outweigh the swing of votes that Hillary lost and had the popular vote. Well, he's got the popular vote and he's got the Electoral College as well, it seems. So it's not a shock for me. The memes is a very interesting one, though, Sherika. I think you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and
wow,
he said a lot of things. He said a lot of things, and I guess they're coming back to buy him. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that sometimes you've got to hold your tongue, and he obviously feels that he cannot hold his tongue. He has lots of fire through Twitter and the rest. And this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about and I'm hoping to get someone from the States. Come on. What do you think about the calculated mistake or mishap, or where Trump trumped himself when he told his followers not to do the postal votes or so? And while Biden was saying, hey, stay safe, do postal votes, do it now. So he got his people to do it now. And Trump said, don't do it because I believe something fishy is going on. And then what he has done now, what is happening now is that they count the first votes that people come out first, because normally they say that the Republicans tend to come out on the day. And then all of a sudden, the rush start to come in with that. So it's like Trump trumped himself, isn't it?
I think so. If that's the message you're spreading to your base, I don't know why you would do that. You want the votes, whether votes come through a postal manner or via the vote on the day. And remember, this again, COVID, it really did change the dynamics of how the voting occurred, because people's fear and anxiety a few months back was probable that they felt they couldn't come out and vote.
Yes.
Who knows what was going to befall them on that fateful day for the voting? So they felt, okay, we've got to get those postal votes in, because of fear and anxiety of not being able to vote on the day possibly into their minds. And so I don't know why, if it is that he's done this, he did this, then I don't know why he would do it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, listen, I thought that what we are seeing, and I'm sure Sherika can come into this, is that America is split right in the middle now. 70 million voted for Trump. 74 million or so voted for Biden. Yes, he got the popular votes. Someone said he got the most popular votes ever for a long period of time. But then a person pointed out, and Donald Trump got the most popular vote as well as the secondary person. So what is that saying about America? Sherry, what is that saying about America? Is it that a bit of America had more warmed up to Trump, or it is showing that America is a split, polarized country? Well, it's a corporation, isn't it? Yeah.
Freudian slip.
Well, America has a lot of self-made millionaires and a lot of self-made, wealthy people. So what Trump brought to the table was to kind of initiate that he will protect those people who are already self-made or who are believing that they're self-made. And in COVID, actually, a lot of people had realized that they could earn more than they thought they would. So what happened with Trump is that he gauged the people who could see themselves as wealthy or who is wealthy, and that's probably what grew his popularity. But the overall vibe that I was getting was that people were not happy with everything else. It was just to do with his tax policies and stuff like that, but everything else they were a bit concerned about how he was how what his views were on them. So to say it's split middle 50-50, down the middle, I don't know. The person won. I mean, once you've won, however you win it, whether it's by 1% or 5%, you've won it. So I don't know. I'm still in shock. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to kind of digest everything that's really going on in
Yeah.
the US. I've just walked in and I'm super excited to be here and to hear everybody's views and stuff. But I think
Mhm.
as the night goes on, I'm going to warm up into the information and see what's really happening and how I truly feel about it. But what I saw from my initial reaction of the thing is that they're just making a mockery out of his achievements, really, and it's
Mm.
somewhat sad. But like David said powerfully, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You
Yeah.
were utilizing social media as your tool, and now social media has utilized you as well. So it's very powerful that you live by the sword, die by the sword. So
Well. Let's look at a couple of the comments here, which is
that's it.
Michelle Clark is
What
saying.
am I shocked?
Michelle
Okay.
Clark is saying even the Electoral College was tired of his behind. um, went further by saying, like I said on your previous show, you find voting in the USA, the Republicans do walk-in votes, Democrats do mail votes, and and why are you in shock? Why are you in shock? Sherika, why are you in shock?
Michelle, I'm in shock because they almost sold it to us like Donald Trump was in a good position. They showed a lot of celebrity endorsements from him. They showed a lot of him in the media. They showed him when they had the debate together.
You watching
They
the same? Are
almost
you
made
watching the same thing as me?
I'm watching the same thing as
Which
you
feed?
because
Which feed?
remember we had the debate and he was over talking Biden. He was trying to make Biden look as if he was weaker by not being as aggressive as him. And sometimes somebody once says not every roar is a lion or something like that. But they really projected Trump as a bully, as a boss, as he's gonna go and storm the competition, and you lost. So I guess it's entertainment. I'm very much entertained, and that's why I'm in shock, Michelle, because of how they narrated Trump to be
Well,
throughout
well,
the entire
well,
process.
I'll be very honest that I'm going to miss the fanfare and the excitement and the get out of here and the big what
The
should I
pasa
say?
pasa.
Passa
Say the
passa.
pasa pasa.
The pasa pasa,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I'm going to miss that. But on a serious note, though, even though their criticism of Joe Biden has been sleepy and being of dementia, and all those different things about,
Exactly.
and that Kamala Harris is going to be taking over in a couple of years' time. And there's a meme going around where Kamala Harris is actually saying, he's saying to Kamala, "We won it," and Kamala's a yeah, and she tip him over a bush. And then there's a meme going around which is not really favorable, I believe, to the Biden campaign because it says it shows Donald Trump as the guy in what's that show called? Avengers. What is that? What's that big guy? The one who was come on, who watch Avengers?
Um,
Go on,
he
I'm
is
gonna let
the
you.
the green guy, the green one,
No,
Hulk.
no, no, not Hulk man, the
No,
bad guy.
Yeah, we
Thanos,
know who you mean. We know who you
Thanos,
mean. We know
Thanos,
here. Thanos. You know who you
Thanos.
mean.
So,
Thanos.
so Donald Trump was being portrayed as Thanos, and Joe Biden was portrayed as what's it called? The guy
Captain
from
America.
Captain
Captain
America.
America.
And then my guy from Black Panther said, "We will fight, we will fight, we will fight, we will fight." And then everybody came up back from the dead. And,
Yes.
I'm saying to myself, that's the wrong thing because they're saying that Biden actually got dead people voting for him. But
Well, yeah, I guess. But I like that. I like that meme. I think it was quite. I mean, there's lots of memes going around, but it's a
yeah,
powerful meme. It's a powerful meme.
yeah, I think it was very funny. But listen, what would you say if you could say? Was there anything, one can say any breakthrough thing about Donald Trump from your perspective for the period of the 4 years? Is there anything positive that anyone can say?
I'll
I,
let you go
I
first, Sharika.
thank you. I'll quickly say what I found positive was with Donald Trump is that he proved that most people he was saying what he felt, and it was refreshing for a lot of people who had been constrained to really say how they feel. So the positive thing about Donald Trump was that in somebody in his position to have no filter, to not be so worried about the norm was a little bit refreshing the time that he came in. And I think that's why he won a lot of people over,
Mm.
because we had been so subjected to being politically correct, to holding our true feelings, to not showing our cards, not saying how we feel, and then we go home and discuss it with our partners, where he was just oozing how he felt. He wore his heart on his sleeves, and that was very refreshing to see. And he also, for somebody of his age, utilized social media very well, and that was refreshing to see, because
Yeah,
social media is part of the new world order. You know, it's part of the new world. So that was good for him to utilize it, to have no shame in utilizing it and showing that it, you know, he can engage different audiences. So that's the positive.
yeah. Well, David, what would you say, David? If you
I'm gonna have to play a joke here because I don't know that was very much positive that came from Trump. But one thing that did was positive. That was 3 years ago. Um, well, actually, sorry, 2 years ago. I realized that my son could read because I was sending some messages to friends in a WhatsApp group. It was early morning. Woke up, said my duties to my family, and he was reading my phone. And then he said, "Man like Trump." It was
yeah,
a text message that my friend had sent to me in the group. So I realized then that he could read. So at least that was his first words. I realized he could read, and so I'm happy and grateful for Trump being the character that he is. That those were the first words that my son read on the text message. So Trump is responsible for that much. But all jokes aside, I agree with Sharika here that in terms of how he interacted with Twitter, whilst I don't agree with how he did that, he did utilize that, and I think that social media is, I guess, the way that things have transpired to become as an influence in society, in today's society. And no president, I don't think, has really embraced it as much as Donald Trump has. And I guess that's a positive in itself. One thing I will say is, whilst we know that there are negative undertones within any society, I think he's shone those up as well
yeah,
through his rhetoric. And sometimes it's better to know the people you're dealing with, and that's something that you could say is quite positive from the way that he's conducted his activities.
yes,
But
yeah,
as I've stated, I don't think there's very much positive from my point of view in terms of the way he's gone about his business on a whole. You could argue, as I said earlier, that if it wasn't for COVID, he probably still would be the leader of the free world, we call it.
yes,
And so he must have been doing some positives for Americans. And I think the economy was in a pretty good state before COVID came to pass. And I guess that would be a positive for Americans to make judgment on his leadership in that regard. But things like, and I'm not answering the question here, but things like trying to get rid of the Affordable Health Care Act, I don't see as a particular positive, and I think those kind of things do outweigh
it was
the
like
positive which
that was something like personal against Obama to a certain extent.
I think it was personal motivations to do that. I don't know, that was kind of a more of a Republican ask in that regard, because I don't think the Republicans were very happy at the passing of that. So I don't think that was solely on Donald Trump's shoulders. There were some sole things that he was responsible for. driving and moving. Building a wall is one of the things he really wanted to do, which again I just see as causing division. But in some eyes, it's a degree of positivity for some Americans, and obviously his fan base wanted that. But I think ultimately Sherika hit the nail on the head in terms of embracing social media, which has been found to be the biggest, one of the biggest movements of the past few years. He definitely embraced that, definitely brought that forward with interactions, with discussions, and I think that has set trends for other projects that have taken place outside of his presidency.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say good evening and welcome to Election Watch, USA and PNP presidential elections. The USA elections, which is, as you know, the results are in. Donald Trump is not accepting. He's not going to concede, but at this moment, he's going to take it to the bank or to the courts. And also the PNP elections for the next president of the People's National Party, which is going to be between Lisa Anna or Mark Golan. That is going to come in 30 minutes time, where we're going to share it. Is someone have a speaker on? I mean, local feedback. If you have a speaker on, or you can switch it over to earpiece.
Okay, maybe. Should I?
That's okay. Yeah. You sorted it. And so that is it. And those on Instagram as well, want to thank you so much for coming on. There's one question I want to ask everyone before I go on to Camilla. What would you say is your description in 1 or 2 words of Donald Trump for the past 4 years? Still hearing that echo, Sherika, when I saw there. Yeah. What would you say is your feed? I'm saying I was about to say feedback because I'm hearing the feedback from Sherika. I'm going to put it back on mute, Sherika. What would you say is your 1 or 2 word description of Donald Trump in the past 4 years? How would you describe him as? Those on Instagram, those on Facebook, those on YouTube. I love to hear what you say. And David and Sherika, what do you say?
I think one word would be emotive. He really drove. He really was full of these emotions that would just be brought about a little bit per snap. He definitely felt that passion, and you definitely felt that passion from anything that he was doing. So I think the one word would be emotive. As presidents go that I've seen previously, I think they've been reserved. They've been had an active demeanor, their thoughtfulness. But I think the other word I would use, these 2 words, is reactive also. Very much reactive. I remember the one scene I remember is when he was I think it was the G8. Maybe I'm wrong. It might not have been G8, but amongst other world leaders, and he was pushing himself right to the front of the queue. And that reaction there was kind of for me like, just hold the phone, just relax. You can work your way up there in other manners, but to jostle to the top because he wanted to be first. I think that was kind of a reaction from him. He must have been, I don't know, tweeting at the time and realized the time wasn't quite right. Oh, actually, I need to be at the top, and ran off. Yeah. So 2 words would be emotive and reactionary.
Okay. Sherika, what do you say? Sorry, I'm putting on. Sorry.
I'm hoping this is better. Is this better for your sound quality? Yeah. So I would also agree with David. Very emotive, very reactive. I'd also say he lacked self-awareness. There's a word for that, but I can't remember the term. Is that when you're unaware of your environment around you, when you're unaware of he lacks emotional intelligence and insight. So when you're unaware of the feelings of others around you, when you're unaware of you just don't think how the other person might feel if you said this or if you barged in. You're just oozing. It's like verbal diarrhea. So he had a lot of emotive languages, and he was unapologetic as well for who he was. And that's something that's not necessarily a negative, but it was interesting to witness somebody in his position be so unapologetic for who he was at that time. And I know Michelle is saying erotic and out of control, and I would agree with that as well.
Yeah. And let me see what persons are actually saying. Michelle says everything was his personal to Donald Trump. He went in the White House with the intentions of dismantling everything Obama. What else? Erotic, out of control, big ass baby. I guess you're saying cry, cry, baby. Moonshine, darling. Take off your clothes and go to your bed. I don't know if anybody knows that. Election between Lisa and Margot this evening could go either way. Watch your space. Okay, that is that coming in. Now let's move on to what do you think that the Trump, not the Trump, the Biden presidency will bring to America? David, what do you think the Biden presidency will bring to America?
This is a really good question because it
It's a
is
good
kind of a
question.
watch this space. What does it mean? What will it bring? What I think it should bring, it's not sorry, not sidestepping the question, but what I think it should bring is a degree of harmony. As you've alluded to, Silborn, several times, and I think it's a great statement. It's this United States is not united,
Yes.
and it needs some unification. That picture you posted earlier with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden hand in hand, that needs to be reflective of the United States. And currently, unfortunately, with the rhetoric that's going on at the moment in time, the non sort of graceful bow out of the current president, it's only going to aid the divisiveness of that country. And so what needs to happen now going forward is unity across the board. He needs to be able to pull in Republicans and Democrats to work together to unify that nation before embarking on any further project. That's the first thing that needs to really happen. And how he does that is going to be really interesting, because the first and foremost thing that he has to sort out is how people react to the whole COVID issue. I don't think there's been very much in terms of strategy, top down, in regards to COVID.
Mhm.
It is the United States, and there are big states within that unified country, and so everybody's sort of been elected to handle it in a particular way. But I think there needs to be a voice from the top to try
Yeah.
and unify a strategy, and that for me has been lacking. And it's a difficult task because obviously the way that we have things going on in the UK, we have the devolved states that are able to lead in that regard.
Mm.
We can be critical of the way that we've gone about things in the United Kingdom. So for him to lead those 46 states, it's going to be tricky, it's going to be challenging, but at the same time, I think that's what he and Camilla will have to do: strategize to have a more unified, bolstered view on how to deal with COVID. But the first thing, as I said, is healing that nation. It's hurting. Demonstrations either
Yes.
side, parties one side, people very unhappy at the other side, still calling into question the validity of postal ballots when there seems, from what I'm seeing and reading, to be no particular issue in that regard. But it's heightened by a president that's saying there is issues, there's continued issues, etc.,
Mm.
etc. And obviously, also on the other side, Republicans need to heal as
I
well,
think we've
because
lost sound.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Dave.
Yeah,
Sherika? Sherika, you okay?
I think Sherika can't hear me, but what I was basically saying is that Republicans also need to heal as well,
Mm.
because I think Trump feels that they're not getting behind him as a movement too. So there just needs to be more unity within the states, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Biden-Camilla ticket work together to sort of unify that nation.
Yes, yes. And let me see if Sharika is your oh, she went to come back. Okay. One of the things that I had said, David, in my post today when I saw it, and I saw what's happening, and I started to look down the road in regards to Joe Biden, and over the 47 years which he has been there, he have learned a lot. Over the 47 years, he has actually suffered a lot with the loss of his son. He remarried, and he had some traumatic experience in his life. And I believe that he has learned a lot. And even though there were some sort of racial elements or things what he has said in the past, I'm a firm believer in the Christian faith that people do change and people do evolve. And leopards may not change their spot, but they maybe can they get older, they tune in or they take down. But I wrote this thing earlier, and what I said was, "Be the Uncle Joe to the nation." This is what I wrote. This was my tribute. Be the Uncle Joe to the nation, and I said my wish for Uncle Joe, and I said President-elect Biden, because when you say Uncle Joe, it's like you need a person who can say, "Don't mind, everything okay." And in Jamaica, it's, "No mind, no mind." You guys are fighting. What do you want? David? What do you want? Sherika, what do you want? Okay, you can't get all of that, Sherika. David, you can get some of that, but what do you want? And I said, if the courts don't overturn this decision, is to forget about foreign policies. That is for Biden. Forget about foreign policies and use his 47 years of experience in office and his personal tragedies to heal the divided states of America. And notice I said the divided states of America. It's not united as president, and make it united again, and get each side to come up to the table and talk. Focus on those race issues. I believe the race issues is top priority. Seek to establish, and this is something I believe very strongly, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because that Willie Lynch thing is still there in the mindset of Black American. The white supremacy thing is there. The Jim Crow thing is all there. They talk about it every day, and be the Uncle Joe to the nation. And when I saw Van Jones, I know I was laughing and say, Van Jones, he always get emotional and cry. And when I saw people on the street, I said, my oh my. And this is what I said, my oh my. Americans, Black Americans are really hurting.
Of course, no doubt. That's a real thing. It's not something to be scoffed at. I don't think the Van Jones things was an act. It was truth. And
frustration, isn't it? It's pent up.
Frustration. And there's been 5 days of waiting for this result to come through. And you can see that was the frustration, that was the annoyance, and that's 4 years of Trump as a president in the eyes of some people. So I think that's the thing here, that there has to be that unified voice. And actually, looking across the board in terms of how things pan out, probably the ideal person for that, the persona for that, is Joe Biden. When I look at him as a person who speaks and articulates in his mannerism, I don't think you can look at him and feel frustrated that he's being divisive. And as I say, that is what's needed right now. And maybe he is the president for the time right now. And that's why we should look at this. Well, I look at it as a positive step. Because the trajectory, as I said before, whilst one person shouldn't really make a party, I think having a leader at the helm does reflect that party. And I make the analogy as this: if you have a football team that's doing very well, so you look at Manchester United, they had Alex Ferguson, who was the helm of Manchester United for many a year and did very successful things, very big things, won trophies, etc., etc. The Manchester United was in existence before that, and now they're in existence now. But the person at the helm at the moment isn't viewed in the same regard as an Alex Ferguson. Is always going to be compared to Alex Ferguson, and they're not performing as well as they were previously. So the person who is in charge of the football team or of the nation is always going to be the person that is judged. And unfortunately, you have to judge Trump on the way that he carried that party, just as you would for any football manager, for any football club. And I think that's the key here. I don't think he did very well at doing that. And at the moment, we need to unify people. We need to be collective as a nation, especially in the face. Again, I keep coming back to the COVID. I know it's a terrible thing to come back to, but COVID has meant that people are meant to not talk to each other in the same ways. We've had to physically distance. We can't communicate in the same ways that we do.
I'm getting something coming through from Jamaica, that apparently Golden has won the presidency of the People's National Party. So that is something which is coming through.
That's made SHERIKA very happy.
Let me bring in straight from Jamaica, from Brownstown, the principal of York Castle High School, Mr. Raymon Treasure. Raymon, how are you, sir?
Not bad at all. Greetings to you and your guests.
Good evening.
Hi.
I want to tell you, first of all, Raymon Treasure is my classmate from high school. And he's
from grade 7 right to university.
From grade 7 straight up, And Raymond is the York Castle High School is in Brownstown, and it's good. The timing is right. We just hold back on we hold back on Golden, because we're going to go into that shortly. But Raymond, let's go on to Kamala Harris, guys. Kamala Harris is the. But before I go on to Kamala Harris, Raymond, you hold it. SHERIKA, what's your take on Joe Biden and what he brings to the next tenure?
Well, as I was listening to David,
and David, I'm going to come. David, I'm going to come back for you to finish that point. All right? Yeah. Sorry,
Well,
Sherika.
I think he will bring a level of credibility back to the United States so people can see as more of a credible nation. Because as I was listening to David speak, one of the key things a lot of people miss out is the fact that we also have the internet and social media, and it's exposed that America is not such a great nation after all.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that are happening to America now, why they need healing, is because they're realizing that actually we pretended to be this great nation, we pretended to be liberal, we pretended to be the country where you have free speech and all of this stuff, but we're actually worse off than countries in Africa, or the African continent, or what they can see now is that there's wealth distributed in everywhere else in the United Arab Emirates and whatever and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So what America realized through this process of having Trump is that they're not actually the greatest nation, and the president almost reflected that
Yes.
by being who he was. So a lot of reasons why America needed healing and why they feel so frustrated is because they walked around thinking that they were the best,
Yes.
and realizing now that they're not actually the best. So what Joe brings to the
Yes.
table, to
Yeah.
answer your question,
Hmm.
what Joe brings to the table is a level of credibility. Hopefully it's like having your dad come in and fix up your mess. It brings a level of structure, a level of stability. It's that warm feeling when you see somebody else a little bit more mature, a little bit
Yeah.
more experienced come in and take over the driving of the ship. That's what I think Joe brings to the table:
Okay.
stability, credibility, structure.
Okay.
That's what I
Stability,
think.
credibility, structure, and David, you're on a point when Raymond came in. You want to finish off a point there?
I think I was basically summarizing the fact that, picking up from what Sharika just said, that stability, I think there's no person better for that just at this moment in time,
Yes.
given the options on the table and the position we find ourselves in. His character bestows that kind of air of relaxation. You referred to him at the top of the segment and tried not to as Sleepy Joe, but I don't think he's going to sleep on this. But I think that kind of feeling of air of relaxation is what is needed. People
Yeah.
just need to relax and
Yes.
chill.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
Okay, just
comfortable.
just just
Yeah.
dampen down the whole rhetoric of angst and craziness at
Yeah.
this moment in time.
Yeah.
Let's take more of a Caribbean attitude now that we've got Camilla Harris in
All
the
right,
White
all right,
House.
all right. Okay. And Raymond, what's your take on the whole election with President Trump taking it to Kamala and I was going to say President Kamala, but many people keep saying that. Kamala and Joe Biden,
Like, I guess she will be in the runnings for the second term.
or the second year
Yes.
of this. Yeah,
Why,
but what do you think?
why would you be pushing him off after the first year? The second term, I think she will go for president. She would
Yeah.
certainly be in a better position with the American people after the first term.
Mm. And what's your take on that period of what's your take of the Trump era then?
Well, it's an era that I'm sure the world is trying to forget. Even some of the stations that were pretty close to the Republican Party, you couldn't help but notice that they were also celebrating the loss of Trump. For
Yeah.
Caribbean people, clearly Biden is going to be the candidate of choice.
Mhm.
Many of us certainly were not too pleased with Trump's term. Certainly was a very aggressive president, very if you think about it, you could never predict what he was going to do.
Yes.
He was always the kind of president who would just operate based on impulse. So for Caribbean people, for immigrants, we are certainly going to be more comfortable with a Biden. And the reality is Caribbean people are always more receptive to the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Worse with the, the operations of a Trump, you are always going to be more receptive to having a Biden on board.
Mm. And Raymond, what is Kamala Harris then? Okay, you're from Brownstown. We went to
Mhm.
Brownstown, York Castle High School, and Brownstown Community College, and we grew up with and being good friends as classmates with family members of the Harrises who live in Brownstown. What is Brownstown is saying now when once she was nominated as the vice presidential candidate? What was their take on it, and what is it like today? Yeah.
Well, as you know, the Harris family is a very prominent family in Brownstown.
Yes.
It is a lineage that started from way back, from
Mm.
the founder of Brownstown, Hamilton Brown, who
Yes.
was a plantation owner. And so her lineage would have descended from Hamilton Brown right down. And the Harris family are prominent business people in Brownstown, and
Yes.
quite a number of them would have quickly identified their lineage or their bloodline to Kamala once she was nominated. So at this point, once the results were announced, there would be much celebration in Brownstown. In fact, I was noticing some of the Facebook posts
Mm.
where a number of people were saying, look what this daughter of an immigrant has done. Uh,
Yes.
for many people, this represents hope. It shows that anything is possible once you put your mind to it, once you are prepared to embrace the educational opportunities that are put to you. Many of us would know her father. Her father actually contributed to Jamaica's economic development plan. So the reality is the Harris family would have contributed much to Brownstown's development, to Jamaica's development, and the expectation is that Kamala is going to continue to support Jamaica's development in her new role as Vice President elect of the United States of America, soon to be Vice President.
Yes.
So yes, the town is celebrating, and the town expects that she will continue to associate herself with Jamaica in every way.
And Raymond, the point you mentioned there, and just for persons' benefit and their knowledge, you said Hamilton Brown.
Mhm.
Hamilton Brown is the founder of Brownstown. Is that it?
Right. He owned most of the lands in Brownstown and would have donated a huge parcels
Yes.
essentially, to the town. In fact, where the Anglican Church is presently, he attended that church. The reality is, when you think about it, plantation owners are not that popular with black people,
Mm.
and there are many who will say we should change the name of the town,
Yes.
because we should name this town after a plantation master. But that basically is our lineage. At some point, the Brown family would have associated with black people, and because that is the
Yeah.
tradition
Well,
in plantation societies.
yeah. I want to take up that point, David and Sherika. Of recent days in the UK, they have been tearing down statues of slave traders or slave owners. And in Jamaica, Raymond, you just mentioned a while ago that they were thinking of changing Brownstown name because of Hamilton Brown, who is the lineage of Kamala Harris. David, what do you think about it? Should they change Brownstown name?
It's a description that needs to really be put back to the people of Brownstown, and what they particularly want from their particular area. There's no doubt that the name of that particular area wasn't Brownstown before. It was Brownstown. It was something else, and so names do change over time.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's down to the people at the end of the day, and how much of a feeling of need for change, there really is. But there's no doubt that the history will remain, and then history needs to be taught, and people need to be aware of these kind of things. But obviously, history doesn't just start with plantation owners; it starts prior to that. So, we need to really teach that history, and that's the key for me, really, in terms of that particular story.
And Sherika,
Well, with with change, sometimes you have to influence change, especially in a country like Jamaica where nobody likes change really. People like what they like what they know, they like to stay with the things that feels familiar and safe to them. So with changing the name is something that will have to be influenced thoroughly because we're moving forward, and sometimes you just have to pull the donkey to the river to let him drink. And I'm a firm believer that, like you said, David, there was a name before the change. If you try and say to somebody, let's change the name of the town that you were born in, they might get a bit funny. So I feel as if change needs to be influenced. You can't just wait for people to want to change stuff, because most times people only change something if something goes wrong, and if it's comfortable for them now, it's going to stay comfortable. So for me, I think you should change the name. I'm a big believer in change for progress.
What's your surname again, Miller?
I'm gonna change my name the day that's my dream. I'm marrying an African man. I'm changing my name. I can't wait. I cannot. My dad knows this. It's no secret. No
Okay.
secret.
Well, at least there's a plan. Like some change your name by default, but your strategic plan there.
I'm very strategic. It's gonna change.
All right. Well, listen, Raymond, you wanted to pick up on that point there?
About a change?
No, about the Brownstone, the changing the name of Brownstone. That's gonna mess up all your stationery, isn't it? Your cancellation.
Well, the truth is, there's a movement. It started with the Black Lives Matter movement, and it certainly has influenced Jamaicans, and so it is highly possible that in the future it will change. We see steps being taken at this point to even remove Queen Victoria's statue from downtown Kingston. It still stands prominently in downtown Kingston. In fact, there was a time when Jamaicans would sing "Reign, Victoria, reign," and her statue, it stands prominently still. And there are those who are saying that, listen, we should put some of our freedom fighters, remove that statue and put some of our freedom fighters in Parade Square. More hear people calling for some of our slave rebels to be named as national heroes and to remove some of the cappings of the colonial era. So I suspect that sooner than later, some of these colonial heritages will be removed. In fact, there are those who will say that we should change the name Your Castle too, because please understand that Your Castle was named after that infamous Your Castle right, and that family was certainly not one of the most famous in Britain. It was, in fact, they were notorious. But here we are adopting naming our school of a notorious family and a castle that is still regarded as very notorious.
Well, Raymond, that's going to mess up a lot of things, because we go to Brownstone, I change to Brownstone, I got to change up my Facebook thing about schools I went to. Your castle, change it up. And then when we used to have devotion, we used to sing this song, all things bright and beautiful, all things great and small, all things white and the Lord made them all. Is that some slave guy who wrote that song now? Gonna change that song, or to be a pilgrim? Sorry, I'm going straight back into school days.
It's the point I'm making, that boy, it calls for a lot of changes going forward.
Well, listen, guys, I just want to pick up a few things before we go on to Mark and Lisa now. Someone said the trade deal with the US is not going to happen now as a result of Biden. You take that view, David?
No, I don't take that view. The trade deal has to happen in some way, shape, or form. It might be changed, but it definitely will happen. There's no doubt that Biden didn't support the idea of having Brexit, but Brexit's going to happen. There's no there's no bones about it. It's happening. So there has to be a deal of some description. Now, so I can't. I don't take that as a point. I think it may well change slightly, but it's still going to happen.
Yes, yes. And then I just want to pick up on what uh, before I move on. You just saying the word harmony. I don't know if you guys seen the video that Jimmy Kimmel did when he went out and asked kids what they thought about Trump, and a kid said, "Save the world." And the interview asked him, "Save the world from what?" The kid said, "Harmony." you know. Also said, "Please cry for what? There isn't going to be any change for Black people. Dem or Republic in the White House is still no change." What do you take about that? The whole thing about
Well,
it,
the idea is to no longer keep saying black people, white people. The idea is to just say people who are less fortunate, because the idea is to just make it one big pool now. So now we need to just start structuring things where instead of say there's going to be no change for black people, white people are still on top. This whole idea of white supremacy or white privilege is not even the right attitude to have. Don't say there's not going to be any change for black people. There's change.
mm,
You're a black person, your change is happening to you. So you should see that as a gradual, that is change happening for black people, because once you're black and change is happening in your family and your circle, that's change for black people, and we just need to trickle it on, trickle it on, trickle it on till it gets to the masses, you know. So it's not very
yeah.
wise to say,
I,
you know.
I think what I think what Michelle Clark is saying is that the thinking that now that Biden has become president, you're not going to see like any Black Lives Matter demonstration. You're not going to see any more killing of black people. It is saying let's not get too excited that all of that is going to change. Hence the reason why I said it's a time for a healing process. It's time to come together and to talk, truth and reconciliation, to get down into the deep because many people are hurting. Um, Norma Bryce answering the question earlier about what are your few words about Trump. He's a madman. Um, uh, yes, he was very unpredictable. Wow, I see so many comments here. Uh, I just want to make sure that I keep these guys. It's not only Trump either. The whole administration's at fault. It's also tell you a lot about the mind of the citizens. And this is actually saying something about America because if it's split down the middle, 70 to 70 million, 70 million, it's showing that America is in some serious stuff, you know? What Hello to TV. That's not change. Change is good. Rika M. Congratulations, Mark Golden. Right. Can we move on now to Jamaica? Now, I recently interviewed Mark Golden a couple of days ago, and it was good that he came on the show because coming on the show wasn't going to be a benefit to him because there's no delegates. Raymond is going to vote for him in Jamaica. But I wanted him to come on the show. Why? Because I believe it's very important to start to set, to show you have an interest in the diaspora as much as possible. And he came on and he delivered. Raymond is going to come back. Now, Sherika, first of all, what's your take on Lisa Anna?
Oh, you know, this is a tricky one for me, Silver. Can David go first? This is a very tricky one for me. You know what my take is. I feel that she was not ready.
Yeah.
Um, as a pageant brand owner myself, I'm not a hater on anyone who like Lisa's, you know, aesthetics and her wanting to be as super ambitious and be a leader. That is what I champion. That is what my brand is about. It's about raising women, coming through the world, and then being at the top of leadership roles. That is what I strive for. That is what I believe in. That is who I am. That is what I want to see. But she was not ready for the position she was applying for, and I just feel as if the right decision was made, and that's my very very non Donald Trump take on it.
And David, what's your take on Lisa Anna? I'll get Raymond.
I think it is answering in pretty much the same fashion. Not that she didn't have the credentials, obviously, you know, to go for a leader of a party you have to meet a certain criteria, and obviously she met that criteria that from a tick box point of view. But what the PMP need right now is somebody that's able to lead that party for their members to a strong and effective position, so that they can challenge for the leadership of as prime minister. So
you mean challenge program?
Yeah. So that's what needs to happen, really. And so, we can push particular agendas. We want to be embracive. We want to say, we've got the first, or not the first prime minister, because we've had that now, but we want to have more female elects. It's great what's going on in Americas. It would be great if that was happening in the UK as well, and across the board. We want to be more inclusive. But maybe she wasn't ready. And I'm a strong believer in fate. And it wasn't her time to shine. But she's got, God spares life. She's got plenty more time to shine again. And at the moment, obviously, we're just hearing now that we've got Mark Golding as that leader of the BNP. And we just have to go with that and see where it takes us. We need strong and effective leadership and opposition to lead the country successfully.
Let's look at this for a moment.
I'm a golden passion and purpose. Ready to win the race and not nervous. And your man said go. So me I tell you Sophie, go with golden. For PMP president, I'm a number one. Somebody else must win. We're going with golden. I him the people them want. Go with golden. Go with golden. Go with golden. Knowing come the man Mark Golding, ready for you unite the People's National Party. Well, if I plant him up and you will see them unfolding. So elect him as president.
Nothing else couldn't push me nowhere.
And I give my full endorsement. Comrade Mark Golding.
Go with Golden.
Go with Golden. Go with Golden.
So that's Mark Golding there for you, who is ready to take on the mantle and ready to run for the leadership of Jamaica, because of course ultimately that's the plan. Once he becomes the leader of the opposition party, People's National Party, then obviously he's going to be the prime minister. What are you looking for? What are you looking for in Mark Golding? I don't know if you guys saw the interview briefly, and what was your take on it?
SHERIKA.
SHERIKA, yeah.
I saw
let me refresh you. Let me refresh you a bit. Questions or so you can put it out there and we can actually look at it. The other thing, Mark, is this, Mr. Golding, is Jamaica is close proximity to the US, even though the US is trying to sort out the US and its top trading partners. Outside of the BPO industry, what policies do you think can be enacted to entice American manufacturing to the Jamaican shores? Because obviously, when America sneezes, Jamaica catch a cold, as they normally would say.
Yeah. Well, we have attempted to court U.S. investors in areas such as in the energy sector, in renewables. We have looked at, the special economic zone legislation that I spoke of provides an attractive fiscal regime, tax regime for firms to get into value-added activities within Jamaica. And we would like to see U.S. investors playing a role. We have a vibrant Jamaica-American Chamber of Commerce that seeks to facilitate the flow of information and investors. And of course, we have our local investment promotion entity, JAMPRO, that does that. But the truth of the matter is that in recent times, certainly in major investments around infrastructure and so on, it's more China that have been providing the capital, because they were, as you know, they've been running huge trade surpluses and they've generated large resources that they can now invest around the world. And so we have benefited from some of that investment, which receives reports from the Auditor General on when she finds things not being run right in any government department or public body. And we delve into that in greater details, which is an important part of holding government accountable. So I've been very active.
Okay, I'll pause that there and bring in Raymond, who can sort of shed some light on the two various party members. Raymond, thanks for coming back. Sherika, I'm just going to mute you. I'm hearing us feedback from your side in the meantime, but you can still listen. You can hear. Uh, Raymond, the
Right.
results are out now, and
Right.
Mark Golden has won. I can tell you the results because I've got my sister in Jamaica who's feeding me with information while I'm on, and the
Right.
results is in whereby Lisa Anna polled 1,444 votes, and Mark Golden 1,740 votes. Uh,
Right.
Raymond, tell us now what's your take on what this is meaning now for Jamaica?
Well, as you know, the word out was that Lisa was popular with young people,
Yes,
and she would have done a better job at challenging Andrew Holness. Um, the reality is, the more senior members of the People's National Party would want to say to you that Mark Golden is a more mature person who has a track record, a successful track record in business. Is a tremendous organizer. He certainly has done very well for himself in his constituency. So at this point, as far as I know, he's extremely popular in his constituency. And so there is that view that he's a better organizer, is better able to attract finances for his party. And so I suspect, whereas the youth vote may have supported Lisa, you certainly had more of the senior members, the more seasoned members supporting Mark Golden. In fact, I was checking a few posts a while ago before I came back, and the more senior people seem to be celebrating this victory of Mark Golden, and feel that he's the best person to unite the party. Has no known enemies. Lisa, as you know, had some challenges in her own constituency, and there were those who were saying, if you
yeah,
can't unite your own constituency, how are you going to unite a whole country?
yes. Some of the words which are coming around regarding Lisa was about being divisive
Hmm.
a lot, and that was one of the things which was being played a lot. And for
Hmm.
Mark was seen as a person who seemed to being behind the scenes for a long time and being very able to work with various persons. But there's a big question there, guys, and I'll put this one out there because in the UK, with the conscious black movement, Black Lives Matters, um, people are asking the question. When PJ came, they said it was black man time now. When Portia came, they said it was Kuman time now. Andrew Holness is there. Now he's a white man. People are saying Jamaica gone back. What's
That
your
was
take?
my, that
Sorry.
was my only reservation on Mark Golden. I was so unimpressed with his how him looked. I felt that was my only
Are you
gripe.
racist? Are you racist?
I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist, but the we're talking about being real, going on the main stage to represent an island. And I know that Jamaica is out of many one people. I know the slogan. You don't have to remind me. But I was really hoping to have a nice, strong, fit black person go and represent. But here we are. It was the better of the two. And it is going to cause some conversation. It's true. But when you give us two people to pick against at the time, like your friend said, sorry, his name's off the screen, Mr. Treasure, as he said, he would be better in engaging to get better financial, stuff like that. And I think it's really important. I was listening to what you said, Mr. Treasure, and I agree with you. I
Yeah.
don't
Because
know.
They sorry, Raymond, let me put you back on it.
at
Sorry.
this point, they need money, they
Yeah.
need to be organized. The truth is, though, we can't continue to depend on the white minority in Jamaica to provide economic support, yet we say they should not hold political
Position.
power. Because the truth is, they still control the majority of our wealth in this country. Would be the providers then the majority of the employment opportunities that we have. So we can't say that, all right, we depend on you to provide economic support, but you cannot participate in governance. In fact, as one of our political scholars would say, what we have is a situation where the white minority will push a few black people up for power, but the real power is still with white people. In fact, when Bustamante started his party, Bustamante, in fact, no, the first party that was started probably was this White Planter Party, could not win an election. So the argument is that they pushed some black people up.
Yes.
And they continue to control the strings from behind the scenes. Here is a Mark Golding whose father, yes, came from Britain, but he's regarded as a great philanthropist, one who started this home, this rehabilitation center for for people with disabilities. So its family tradition is one that has always been very supportive of the underprivileged in this country, of the marginalized. He's certainly not one from the privileged planter class. His father left basically his situation, his privileged situation in Britain, and came to Jamaica and established his medical practice, and would have contributed significantly to the development of the medical faculty at the University of the West Indies, especially as it relates to people who needed rehabilitation.
And just speaking on that point, you're quite right there. It's great to get that background history. His father is responsible, or seemed to be responsible, for sort of ending the polio pandemic in Jamaica at the time.
Yes.
And so those things cannot be forgotten, irrespective of how somebody looks. It's great hearing that kind of historical perspective, but boiling back to it, for me, that's politics, isn't it? We have people in positions of power who are supported by either big business or entities to push certain agendas and things forward. And I would hope that the agendas that are pushed forward from the opposition party in this instance are for the benefit of Jamaicans, because that's key. With any type of politics, we want for nations, specifically in this point, Jamaica, to be successful, more successful than it currently is. It's always about progression. If we can get that progression, then I'm more than happy for any political leader to assume a particular position. And I don't know very much about Mark Golding as a character, as a person. I only know from a historical point of view. I'm not invested in looking at him as a person. I'm invested in the country in itself and how it puts itself forward. And if any country needs an active opposition in order to try and benefit the people of the country, if Mark Golding is that person to do that, then I'm supporting him. I want that for Jamaica. I want that positivity for Jamaica, and especially in times now where things and everybody, countries are struggling. Jamaica seems to be doing very well from a COVID standpoint. Sorry to harbour on the COVID topic again, but it seems to be doing very well at presently, and long may that continue. But we also need the people of Jamaica to be successful. We also need people to commit to that unity and harmony that we've talked about from an American standpoint, and we need to be successful in that. And again, active opposition will give you that, and I'm hopeful that he's able to deliver that. Lisa Hanna's time will be a time at some point in time, I'm sure.
Can I just David, bear with me while I just transfer a frame here. So I'm going to remove you for a second, David. Just 1 second. I want to bring in Mr. I'm going to bring in, he's going to bring a point here. I want to bring a point that when P said, give me a second, guys. He's going to speak into that particular point.
Garbage disposal, water and sewage access. These are critical things for the people living there, and they should have no worse standards when it comes to these basic things than Uptown. Of medical cannabis, a regulated industry with a cannabis licensing authority. and that has attracted significant investment. Though I'm not happy with the way it's being rolled out, because it is not being rolled out in an inclusive way. And the small farmers who have carried the burden of the war against drugs over the years and suffered the impact of that in terms of police and soldier harassment and prison and all of that, they are not being included in that industry because the barriers to entry, the hurdles are too onerous for them. And we want to fix that when we next come into office. But those are some of the things I was doing. Then when I was on the South St. Andrew constituency executive. South St. Andrew is he decided to. I have been an which receives reports prior to Dr. Phillips announcing his retirement and a vacancy being presented. And when I looked at the field, I realized that I had a lot to offer, and in terms of what the party needs now to move ahead. And that was really why I decided to step forward. And then since then, of course, I've had to be increasing my profile, getting more active on social media, more appearances with traditional media, and actively meeting with delegates all around the country. So I've had a pretty hectic last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes.
And here I am with you, SYLBOURNE.
Well, it's a pleasure. And if I can just touch on a couple questions here. And Lorna Foster, she's saying, would online voting be something considered for people in the diaspora? Postal votes would take ever more. So, what do you say about that? Online voting?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. For those who are eligible to vote, I think online voting would make a heck of a lot of sense. It would be less expensive. It would be quicker and maybe more secure as well. So yes, I mean, I think it makes tremendous sense doing it that way rather than physical voting. We don't have online voting in Jamaica in domestic elections yet. So, it would be a major step forward if we were to introduce it for voters outside Jamaica.
Okay. I want to ask you this question. And this is DBG is making good money. Somebody's maybe find your history.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this question. Many years ago, I stood out at Madame Tussauds in the UK, whereby I was a guide while I was studying law. And I heard this voice behind me. Yo, how much for going at this place, man? So I turned around looking.
Was it me? Was it me?
It was you. So I turned around looking to find this Jamaican or this black person there. And it turned out to be this white, very dignified guy in a pinstripe suit, elderly chap. Said he went to school with Michael Manley. Said he's a QC in Cayman. And his name slipped me. I
think I know it is.
Yes.
I think I know it is. I think it might be Raymond Alberga.
Yes.
Possibly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And we got to know each other. I was very supportive after. You are a Caucasian, a white man, yeah? I'm going to go straight to the point. In the UK, many people are on this movement, the reparation movement, emancipation movement. When PJ became prime minister, they said, black man time now, Portia, black man time now. It's in the rumbling, said, boy, Jamaica gone back if they're in for a white man. I'll land that to you. How would you address that? Because you're going to get it.
Yeah. No, I understand that position and sympathize with that position.
Yeah.
Because, although I have the color that I have, one doesn't choose one's color still. But, I've grown up in the 70s in Jamaica on the university campus, which was a place which was dominated by progressive and politics. And I see hearing a bit of an echo now.
Okay.
Yeah. But essentially, the point I wanted to make was, culture of Jamaica is the culture of the Jamaican people, who are 90% of African origin. So we, the language that we speak is yes, it has strong English influence in it, but it's the syntax and so on come from Africa.
Yeah.
And I have grown up in that culture. I love the Jamaican language. I've tried to make myself bilingual. Not because I don't take the view of it that it's something that is any less than English. I think there's a role for English, but I think there's also a role for the Jamaican language, and we need to ensure that our children who come from homes where Jamaican is spoken, are dealt with in the educational system in a way that doesn't prejudice their outcomes. Like Haiti has done that, you know, and I want them all to be proficient in English, but I believe that the way in which we treat the Jamaican language is an unresolved issue. And there's a lot of classist views and even racist views in how we address that issue. But I am somebody who, you know, I'm a roots person. You know? I'm somebody who loves the Jamaican music, and I'm easygoing, and I'm respectful of other people. And when I move on a corner, you know, it's just me and everything, Chris. So I don't have issues in terms of relatability, you know. Though I can understand, especially persons who may have grown up in the UK and the racism of that society. You know, I can understand. Why they would find it strange. But truth is, out when many one people is a matter and is a real thing. And I'm not ineligible.
Okay, guys, sorry about that, but I wanted to play that Raymond and Sherika and David. What's your take on that, David?
For me, it's what I just said. You know, you got to have a degree of positivity here from an opposition leader. And if it is, you know, if he was just saying, okay, well, do we pick somebody that because they aesthetically look a particular way? He's born in Jamaica. He's Jamaican, okay, and he's trying to make him have a movement for a party, which, you know, I'm going to take him at his face value and say this is a positive movement that he wants. He's, you know, the first segment there you talked about farmers and industry. He's wanting to move things forward for the people. And he's Jamaican. He fits. He ticks the boxes for what is needed to be an electable leader for Jamaica. There may well be people who were born outside of Jamaica who don't get to vote for Jamaica, who want to move Jamaica forward, but don't tick that box. But he ticks the boxes because of the fortunate circumstance of him being a Jamaican, born in Jamaica, and he's the leader now of the opposition party. So there's nothing but degree of positivity, and he's looking to uplift his people. I don't see a particular issue with it from that respect, and I think he showed a degree of understanding to say, look, I can see how people would have an issue with it. And I can see how in the face of racism, people would actually take that and say, well, actually, you know, you're going backwards. But actually, from where he's coming from the things that he's trying to do for the PNP party, it's a positive. The P for the people should be P for positive. And I think that's the thing. He's trying to connect that party up now, and move things forward. So the timing, probably, you know, we've talked about politics all night now. You know, an hour and a half of politics, but for him, he's probably the right person at this moment in time. If he can connect up the dots for the party, get the people moving in the right direction, be the effective opposition party that's required for any successful government to move forward, then I'm all for it.
Well, I'm gonna go on to Sherika to give her a bit there, and then for Raymond to wrap it up. Sherika, what's your take on that brief interaction with Mr. Golden?
I think he came across very authentic. So as I was listening, I felt authenticity from him. I felt that he was one of us. For some reason, his color was removed from me because, like I said, the authenticity of how he spoke, how he was so cool with the interview, and how he understood where we were coming from by saying, we can't see say you're white, you know, and he understood it. He understood that it was no disrespect. It was the elephant in the room, and he addressed it very well. So he came up very authentic, and I know he's authentic because, like you said, he was born in Jamaica. He grew up here, and as he was talking, what Mr. Treasure said, it was in my mind. You cannot expect people of a white skin tone in Jamaica to contribute to the economy, but not give them any political position, because as we know, one of the biggest reggae festivals, Sunfest, is a white man owned it, Joe Bogdanovich. And most of the big things that are going on in Jamaica, if you really investigate who is behind it, is people of a white skin tone. Even when I was friends with the CBM TV CEO, and it's white people, and it's CBM TV. So the point is, he came off authentic. I'm very happy for him. We are out of many one people. He's proving that again, and I wish him all the best, and let him continue to be a cool, authentic person and when you get uncomfortable questions like, we can see say you're white, and you can address it with such calmness and such level of understanding,
Yeah,
because if you try to overlook it, it's almost like you're taking the people them for idiots.
yeah, yeah,
But he showed that he's not taking us for idiot. He knows
yeah.
that we can see what is going on, and he addressed it well. So I wish him the best. The interview was good. Well done, Silburn. Well done for like giving us that insight into Mark,
Yeah,
because now I can read up more about him. I didn't have any interest, like
yeah.
David said before. My interest was in the country. But maybe now I might see why he fit the bill and what made him come into this position and how he got to where he is. So,
And I must
you
say,
know,
and I must say, with a background there, I did broach a question with him before, and he didn't hesitate to sort of take it on, because I said to him, "It's up to you if you feel comfortable or not. Want to make him comfortable?" And he said, "No, no, but I can deal with it. I can deal with it, you know." And he dealt with it, you know. Raymond, what's your take? What's your take on this, Raymond?
Well, as I said before, we can't be celebrating
Yes.
Kamala, and at the same time, we say that a white man cannot rule Jamaica, because we are always happy when a black man takes charge, and we are hoping that at some point
Mm.
we will see a black prime minister in Britain. You can't expect to have that kind of situation in countries where you have a white majority, and in the Caribbean, which is supposed to be a multicultural society. You say no, the majority should always hold power. That doesn't make sense. We can't be asking for equality in the metropolitan states or countries, and in the islands where we think that we hold the majority, or in Africa for that matter. We said no. At every point, it must be the leader must be the person
Mm.
who has the majority population behind them. Mark, as we have rightly stated, is a good person. We the truth is, Mark Golding does not need politics. There's a view out there that a lot of people go into politics for money. He
Yes.
doesn't need politics
Mm.
to garner wealth. Mark is quite a wealthy person who would have, and it's not something that was handed down. This is a guy that went to Campion, went to school overseas, came back, practiced law, was quite successful, and did well for himself in business. So he really doesn't need this for self-aggrandizement. I think he has a genuine commitment
Yes.
to his country and wants to see his country emerge as one of the leading economic powers in the Caribbean region.
Yeah.
And we hope that he will add some of his business experience
Mm.
to governance
And,
if
and
he takes over.
and I must say that in the interview, we dealt with the issue about overseas voting, and he made it clear. He says, I need to delve into that a bit more, but it is something that I'm going to look into. And he saw the importance of, and I use this example. If your children, I said to him, if you're in the UK and an election is called by Anjolas and said, "No, man, go back, man, go straight back." I said, "Okay, I know you have to go straight back," but I said, "What if your children are here? An election is called. You want them to go straight back? Can't they just go to the Jamaica High Commission and say, yeah, I think that is a practical thing." And Raymond, that is one of my pet peeve over the years that I've been going to the Jamaica Diaspora Conference 2006, is addressing that issue. And Jamaica has not really put their hand to the metal and resolve the issue. And the second one, which sorry, Raymond, you're going to say something there.
Yeah, and that is something that I have an issue with too. We still, as Jamaicans, we still want to say that, all right, these people are overseas and they are not, they should not be dictating who should be government because they're overseas in a different, having a different experience. So you can't allow people having a different experience
Yes.
to vote for those who are here. Now, my take on that matter is a lot of I can speak from an education point of view, a lot of the schools in Jamaica right now are receive significant contribution from the diaspora. In fact, remittances represented our highest foreign exchange earner, which is saying that our diaspora is putting a lot of money into this country. So if they are putting their money where their mouth is, we should give them an opportunity to determine who runs this country. So you can't be asking the diaspora to invest, asking the diaspora to support every development activity. And at the end of the day, you say, boy, they should not have any say in who manages the affairs of this country. So I would support giving the diaspora the opportunity to vote,
Yes,
who leads this country, because the diaspora really is giving a lot back to Jamaica.
definitely, most definitely. Well, guys, we're gonna wrap up now. I got David off. Well, this was a one-off, David. You know that because of you know because of Trump and Biden.
Hey,
And
listen, I think as well as the guests, I can speak on the guest behalf. I'm sure they'll allow me to do so. I've thoroughly enjoyed this evening. I think it's been a fantastic production discussion. Two big speaking points in regards to the election in the United States, but bigger in Jamaica. I love talking about Jamaica. It's something inherent in my heart. So I'm fortunate to have been able to talk about it this evening, and I hope the viewers also enjoyed the discussion. So yeah, thank you for inviting me on.
yes, and Sher.
I feel the same way, Silver, and thank you so much. I ran home and said I have to come on and see what is going on within our community, within our space, because we created the space to facilitate the diaspora conversation. And like you said, it is one of my pet peeves as well, not being able to vote. And like you said also, we contribute to so much of the economy, sending money back home to people who need healthcare, who need school fees, who needs some new hair bundles. I don't know. We send money back home. So it's really good to see that it's acknowledged even from your side that it's an important to have a voice and for your voice to be actioned. So it was a great conversation, and yeah.
And sorry, and ladies and gentlemen, we spoke also about the recent elections with America, where Donald Trump and Biden and Kamala Harris. Raymond is the principal of York Castle High School, which is in Brownstown, which I went to, and I went to Brownstown Community College. But Raymond, I'm going to leave you the last word, just to give us an idea, because about the Jamaica and the education, and about York Castle. How is it going on with the online thing since COVID? Just give us a little brief 5 minutes update on that.
Well, as I said to you at some point, schools like York Castle, we have traditional high schools, we have upgraded high schools, we have prep schools, we have primary schools. The prep schools and the prep schools and the traditional high schools, they are going to have more students accessing online classes. With the others, upgraded and the primary schools, dealing primarily with working class parents, you are going to have a number of students not being able to afford online classes because Wi-Fi is still very expensive. Apart from that, especially on the North Coast, a number of parents have lost their jobs because the North Coast revolves around the tourism industry. So even people who could afford it, say 4 months ago, now they can't. So quite a number of students are not able to access online classes. Based on what I'm picking up, the government has said only about 38% of the school population is actually accessing online classes at this point. And that is why there is this push to have students returning to school for face-to-face interaction. Because the bottom line is quite a number of students have not accessed school since the lockdown in March. So the more privileged will always be able to.
Raymond, I'm hearing a little glitch there in the system. So what you're saying there, I want to pick it up. Many students have not been able to get online. Is that what you're saying?
About 70%, I think, of the population, the school population, has not been able to.
Okay, much better, yeah.
Right. So what you'll
Keep
have
talking.
is what you'll have is that the students who attend prep schools and the more traditional high schools, you'll find that they are accessing, but quite a number of students who attend what we call the upgraded high schools, a number of them are not able to because they simply can't afford it.
Yes. I see. All right. well, what we're gonna do? What we're gonna do definitely at some point, guys. We're gonna take on Raymond to come as a special guest to really look into the whole thing regarding the school situation in Jamaica, because a lot of people are not really benefiting a lot at this time. The COVID is very challenging, right, Raymond? and sometimes people need like laptops and all those sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so right now, a lot of organizations, including the alumni associations in the diaspora, they are actually doing a lot of fundraisers to secure tablets for students in Jamaican schools. Up to last night, I had a meeting with the York Castle Alumni Association in New York. They are planning to put on a fundraiser. And the purpose of this fundraiser is really to raise funds to send tablets to Jamaica for students.
Okay. Well, definitely you got to put pressure on the guys in the UK. Hint, hint.
well, we have been trying to get the associations up in the UK, but apparently the numbers are in Florida and New York and Toronto.
Well, I'll bring on David as a honorary York YC and SHERIKA as well. I make them become a honorary Yorkist. That's
there
all
we go.
Well, our organization is always looking for a charity to fundraise for, a reason to gather our girls to kind of see what it means to kind of raise funds and give back. So we would love to take that on if in the future is something you're looking for, because I'm always around a lot of young, ambitious, excitable women, and we need to fundraise effectively and see where the funds are going to. So we're planning our trip next year. So we would be happy to see if we can raise at least 3 to 4 laptops and see if we can bring them down with our queen and donate them or whatever we can. So yeah, let's make it a conversation, because we're always looking for the right people to donate our efforts to. So that'll be something I'll be happy to speak about, Mr. Treasure. So we'll speak to SYLBOURNE and see how we can assist on that. We have a nice, beautiful queen waiting to donate something.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that would be really amazing. So yeah, SYLBOURNE, you know what to do.
Okay. Good.
You see what Biden has done? You see what Biden has done? And Golden have brought together this conversation, this beautiful connectivity. This is a beautiful day. Yeah, man, I'm just gonna be smiling now and drinking my coffee.
You're right. You're right, David. You're right in a way. It's like there's a calm.
Yes, a sleepiness to it all.
You're drawing shades now, man, and sleepy Joe. You know what I'm saying? Let me just see what the last word Michelle said. This is where classism comes in. Okay, no problem, we pick that point. Lorna Foster, Mark Golding come across as a very humble being, a people person, one who embraced the Jamaican culture and has great love for its people, and him always say him love upon him corners, so him always tell a while. And his wife, when she talked about him, it's a pity I don't have a picture of his children and his family, but when his wife spoke about him, she said it took a long time because he was a rebel. So congratulations.
He's probably more Jamaican than a lot of us who claim we are,
Yeah,
but he's really a roots man.
The roots man, yeah. Somebody says the blackest white man around. It's like you mentioned about the blackest Chinese, and I remember David Chen, my brother, we call him a black China friend, the blackest Chinese around,
Yeah, because some of us have never attended a dancehall session.
That's what I say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right about that.
That seems to be his way of life.
Well, listen, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on, guys. And I think my good friend Mark O'Neill Cross from Virginia, he was trying to come on, learn. He might go on, join me on Instagram. I'll go on Instagram if anything, if he comes on. But I want to let you guys know it was a good show, And well done to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And let's hope that Donald Trump will just concede. And maybe he can work out a deal and say, hey, Joe, I'm going to concede, Joe. Just get your boys off of me. Get them to chase me down. I have to keep my family at bay, you know? And I go play golf.
That's in another universe, I think.
Another universe. All right. Have a good night, yeah?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you all.
Pleasure
Thank you.
meeting
You too.
And ladies and gentlemen, just want to thank you so much. Remember to like and subscribe to the SYLBOURNE Show. The details there. Michelle, Lorna, Rika, Keisha, guys, thank you so much for coming on. And those on Instagram as well and those on Facebook. Thank you very much and have a good night and all the best. Peace out.
Peace. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.